Alrighty, so last week I was reading an article from, I think it was Drone XL, and they were talking about how DJI is going to produce an S series of the Mavic 3. And I was trying to think to myself, like, why would they do this? Why would they do this? And the only logical reasoning behind this is the fact that, yeah, they know that there is some problems with components on the Mavic 3, and that this is their way of silently fixing some of those issues, making the GPS faster, or maybe enhancing some of the connectivity problems that users have experienced. So today I want to talk about my experience with the Mavic 3 GPS, along with why it hasn't rectified my issue entirely and why you may still be having problems with your Mavic 3 GPS. Let's get started. What's good, everybody? Ken here. You're watching OriginaldoBo, and I thought we would just do a little bit of a talking head conversation today in regards to the Mavic 3. But really quickly, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, because I'm going to be doing more videos just like this when it talks about news and just issues with drones just in general. The Mavic 3 and myself have had a love-hate relationship from the very start. But one of my biggest gripes with this drone was how long it took me to gain satellites to be able to take off efficiently or be able to utilize the maximum amount of altitude that the drone could provide. Currently right now, I've been waiting about 5 to 6 minutes for GPS to lock. This was prior to the update. I've done several videos on this. Others have highlighted these issues as well. And we got wind that DJI was going to be creating a software update that they said that all of this could be resolved with software. So when I heard this, I got really excited, and it made me feel a lot better about not selling the Mavic 3, which, just side note, if I did sell it, what the hell would I buy that could be of equal quality at this point? There's really nothing on the market. Sorry, Autel fans, not enough for me to say I'm going to switch to an Autel for professional work. It's just not enough. But I digress. So the update came out a couple of days ago, and I said I wanted to take my time and really put it through its paces and just use it, just unknowingly sort of just use it like I normally would. Not really give it a lot of thought, not really focus on how much time it's taking, to see if I noticed a overall speed difference. Now, the very first day that this update came out, I updated it in the office, and I went out to go fly it, and the GPS locked really quick. I mean, within like 2 minutes or so, I had like 17 satellites. But that was coming off of a hot boot. I was recently here in the office updating it so it had time to gain satellites, time to cache that memory. By the time I got out to the location, it already sort of knew where I was. It was within a couple of moments of one another from update to trying to fly at first. So that really didn't count. So I said, all right, well, we're going to let it sit for the whole day the next day, because the next day it started raining and I didn't fly it for an entire day. So the next time I flew it was at this listing that I flew on Friday, which I did a video about. And the GPS took about 4.5 minutes for me to be able to achieve the maximum altitude, because until you lock like 11 satellites, it's not going to let you go any further than I believe it's like 62 or 70 feet. I can't remember what the exact footage that it allows as far as height goes, but until you get past like the 11 satellite mark, it doesn't really it doesn't really lock. So this is an area where I've never flown before, and it was giving me about 4.5 minutes. So that's about a minute or so improvement. So I thought to myself, okay, that's pretty good. A minute or so is not terrible. It's not great. It's nothing to write home about. So the next day, same situation, had to go out, fly a couple of spots. The first spot I came to, it took about 5.5 minutes, never been to this spot again. And it took about 5.5 minutes for it to actually lock GPS satellite. I went to another location, and it was much faster locking satellites, because again, I'm coming off of a hot boot. I flew one location, put it back in the box, went to the next location, which was far. It was like 35 minutes away, powered it back up, and it gained satellites in about 3.5 minutes. So we have some improvements. I'm not going to say that the software hasn't improved everything entirely, but it hasn't been the massive update that we would have hoped for. And now we get news that there is going to be a S series in the future. Now, when Drone XL typically puts out articles like this, they usually have enough of proof or some sort of validation to back up that claim that a drone like this would be coming out. I have no reason to believe that High over there would put anything out just to say it and damage his credibility. So here's my thought process. Is that, yeah, there is a problem with these GPS chipsets. And there was an article on the DJI forum. It was on the official DJI forum, and it's gone. And it was super detailed, and I got a chance to read it last night. I should have saved the whole thing. And I think it's floating around in some of the groups. But as I'm reading this, it's talking about how DJI wanted to use the same GPS chipset that was found in the Air 2S and the Mavic 2 Pro. But when it came time to utilizing that same chipset, there was a shortage. So they ended up using an automotive grade GPS chipset. Now, the difference between the automotive grade GPS chipset and the chipset that they were using in the Air 2S and the Mavic 2 was the memory. That's the amount of cached memory that this chip can contain. That's like for the first time you fly somewhere, it caches your location. That's what makes a GPS fast. And this chipset is very, very different. It has nothing to do where it's positioned in the Mavic 3. It all has to do with how much memory it has to actually cache this. So my thought process is with this latest update, they were trying to enhance the amount of memory that this chip was allowed to use to cache locations. I don't know if essentially these U-Box chips are faster than one another. I don't think it is. I think it really just boils down to the memory, but they used an automotive grade GPS chip versus the chip that's been tried, tested, and proven that they have used because of shortages. So shortages won the battle this time. So now here we are poised with the fact that there could be a Mavic 3S, and the real benefit would be that it's going to have faster satellites. DJI is no doubt going to have to add some sort of other features to this drone if they want people to purchase this. Otherwise, I think a lot of Mavic 3 owners are going to be pretty angry at the fact that the only benefit to going to the S is the fact that there would be faster satellites that they should have already had on the Mavic 3, considering the heavy price tag. Again, a lot of this is speculation. Nothing's come to fruition yet, but I want to know, what are your thoughts if DJI releases an Mavic 3S and the main thing that it does is improve just some minor things, but mostly improves the satellites? Would you feel jaded? Do you think that this is something big enough to where DJI should exchange the units that are in circulation now that have that automotive chipset inside of it that are experiencing slow GPS? Because that's the only logical reasoning behind this. That could be the only logical reasoning as to why some people experience a faster GPS lock than others. I mean, that's the only logical reason. And like I said, I noticed a marginal improvement after updating it. And I've even still have some disconnects periodically from my RC Pro. So I would really love for them to get this thing situated because it is such a great drone. I love the color science. I love the image quality coming out of it, but I don't like having to wait. And when you're on set or you're doing something professionally where you're trying to fly a drone that maybe is not of an Inspire caliber of a huge drone, and because there's risks involved, and that 900-gram drone makes a lot of sense, you want to know that you can get it up in the air as fast as possible. But let me know what you think. Would you feel jaded? And how's your experience been with the latest update? Mine has been sort of lackluster, and I'm sad to report that, but that's why I wanted to fly it after a couple of days. I know a lot of people probably went out, updated the drone, and took off and flew it, and were like, yeah, great, it's fixed. But then in a couple of days, it still is slow. Sorry. I am not going to pole smoke DJI. I paid damn good money for my drone, and I just want it to perform as advertised. And fuck anybody if they think I should expect anything less. That's going to do it. Stay original.
I heard they checking for me, no one checking on me, so I had to go run up a check. I got the message on me, ain't no flexing on me, my attorney gon' call and collect. Blessings on blessings for me, my successes only made them envious, they got upset. I had to put all their egos in check. I want the money, the power, respect, and I heard you so and so.